guys, welcome to Off the Clock with Your Attorneys. I'm Bill Demas. My counterpart in crime, Warren Duffy, is actually preparing for a trial, 3 weeks trial, that he's going to start in a little bit with Cliff Wells. As you've heard, if you watch these videos, we're a trial first law firm. It's all hands on deck preparing for that trial. But what I got to do today is I got to pull out one of our other leaders of the firm, and he heads the construction department. Alan Gustafson. Alan's a great guy. He's when you hear these conversations that we have and we're all practicing with our friends, Alan's a friend. He may tell you a little story. When he first met me, he did not know if he wanted to like me or not. I guess I warned him a little bit to wear him down. But he is here. He's awesome. Today we're going to talk about what he does. Construction law, and more importantly, construction defects. Not a lot of people do it, so he's one of the few, and that's why I want to get him talking. I also don't know a lot about it, so this is a chance for me to learn too. So, first of all, welcome, Alan. How you doing?
Hey, man. Good. Thank you for having me on today.
We always ask these questions just so people get to know you. Where were you born?
I was born in Newark, Ohio. With people, whenever you tell them you're from Newark, they think New Jersey. But no, I'm actually from Newark, the other Newark in Ohio, the great Buckeye State, or as my wife says, one of those flyover states. And she's from Albania. She has no idea anything about the Midwest. But yeah, I'm from Ohio originally, born and raised in Newark, Ohio, but I came down here to law school at Stetson. Mm-hmm. And once you go into Florida, you never come back.
So where did you go to college?
Went to Wittenberg University in Ohio, and then I came down here to...
And in college, you ran cross country, right?
Yeah, I was a D3 college athlete, which...
Finely tuned.
Yeah, finely tuned D3 college athlete, yes.
Besides being an attorney, what were some of your jobs, your memorable jobs that you've had?
My first job was when I was 15 years old. And why they let people do this job at 15 years old is beyond me. My first job was a lifeguard. I was a lifeguard at Apple Valley, which is we had 3 beaches, if you can call them beaches. It's mostly gravel because it was on a lake in Ohio. So I started off at 15 years old, and I was a lifeguard responsible at 15 for the lives of people that were 5 times my age and children, which is terrifying. And then I also worked when I turned, I think, 17. I worked as a waiter, and I was a waiter at the Cherry Valley Lodge in Licking County, Ohio, which is a really, at the time at least, I've been back in 15 years. At the time, it was a great restaurant / resort, and just a great place to work for years. I worked there for all throughout college. Every single summer I'd come back and work. I'd work on all my breaks, and then I'd even worked a little bit. I think the first year of law school, when I came back, I worked there.
So what about those 2 jobs helps you now in your practice of law?
I don't know much about lifeguarding and how that really helped me.
You turned that into a verb. I like that.
Lifeguarding?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know if it's a verb, but and I don't know much about how lifeguarding has helped me in life, although I guess if anyone's choking or something, I guess I can give them the Heimlich or perform CPR, which are good life skills to have. But no, yeah, being a waiter, I think actually is really important for almost anybody because we're in the service industry as lawyers. We're still in the service industry. Giving people just good service, timely service, just like you do as a waiter, learning how to deal with all different types of people, difficult people who are very particular when it comes to their fine dining experiences. Yeah, I think that all of those things are good life skills to have.
Awesome. So when you started your practice, you represented both individuals and large corporations in your practice, correct?
Yeah, I actually started off as an assistant state attorney, which in Florida, it's a prosecutor, is what we call assistant state attorneys. So I started off as an assistant state attorney, spent all of maybe 6 months in the misdemeanor, and then it was promoted pretty quickly to felony. So I was trying everything from unlawful taking of an alligator cases up to DUI manslaughter cases, felony battery cases, all of those things. But I did that for 3 years. It was a great experience, tried over 25, 30 jury trials or whatever it was. And then I went and I practiced construction law exclusively for the last 13, 14 years. I've only practiced construction law. I've done it all. Started off and I worked for a large firm representing very large corporate clients on very large construction projects. Then I was a partner at another law firm, which we represented basically insurance companies. You don't sue the insurance company directly in construction law. You actually sue the contractor typically, but the contractor has. I was appointed by the insurance companies to represent the contractors and the subcontractors. So I did the insurance defense side of things for years, and then I came over here at Herman Wells.
So going on that thing, what's the difference between construction law and construction defect law? Because you hear them bantered around, but now and I never knew there was a difference, but getting to know you, talk to you about some of your cases, seeing some of the clients that are calling in, there is a difference.
Yeah. Construction defect law, or they call it CD law. I remember when I had been practicing construction law for a while, and I always did general construction law, and somebody threw out they said, oh, you do CD law. And I said, I don't know what CD law even is. But CD law is, construction defect litigation. It really just involves any construction defects, any code violations, any deficient construction, and you just essentially are helping people resolve their construction defects. Construction law is actually a pretty broad field of law. It involves reviewing contracts, helping people with payment disputes, lien disputes. I don't do much of it anymore, but
you have done it.
No, I don't do much of the permitting side of things anymore, but I have done some permitting side of things as well, and licensing side as well. But yeah, there's a lot of different aspects to construction law.
Now, I know you do construction defects, but let's say that somebody's watching this and they're either a property owner or they're a contractor, they're a subcontractor. Do you handle, if there's no defects associated, do you handle the conflicts that may arise between a contractor and a sub, or the homeowner or property owner and the contractors, where they say, no, our contract, it's supposed to be this, and now you're telling me it's going to be Y instead of Z? Do you get involved in those too?
Yeah, no, we're a full service construction law firm. We will handle anything from soup to nuts, any types of different construction or any construction dispute involving payment issues, contract issues. Again, the only thing that we really don't get involved in too much is the licensing side of things, and then the DBPR complaints, which is almost like a quasi-criminal thing. Those are really the only things that we don't help people with.
Explain that acronym to people.
The DBPR is the Department of Business and Professional Regulations, and also the Construction Industry Licensing Board, which is like a subset of the DBPR. They are responsible for construction licensing in Florida. They're also responsible, they're the agencies, the state agencies that are responsible for complaints against contractors. They handle one of the big things that is really going on in our industry right now is you're seeing a big crackdown on unlicensed contractors. You're seeing a crackdown on subcontractors who are hiring folk who are not in the country legally. And then you're also seeing a crackdown on folks who don't have workers' compensation insurance. Yeah. And those are really claims that the DBPR handles. And you can get some really significant fines as a contractor.
Yeah, Alan, and I forgot to tell everybody before, we go and we visit local businesses. We're down in Safety Harbor, Florida. There's a nice little place called Sips Wine Bar. Really cool place. They have a bunch of wines, and then the cool thing about them, they have a bunch of craft beers and other beers, and they give you a card, and you can just scan the card and pour your own, try a little bit of everything. It's really nice. The owner was really nice to give us this little private setting. We didn't ask for it, but he offered it. Always do local. That's why you'll see Alan sipping every once in a while, because we're off the clock. So this is what it's about. We can do it. Alan and I had a thing where he got a referral, and I have a work comp background, and we worked together about some DBPR liens and not having workers' comp. And when he said significant, before I got involved, these people were looking at almost $500,000 in workers' compensation fines. And because we got involved and we acted quickly and we worked with the board and we did all this, they were able to take 25% off because they acted quickly, another 15% off because they gave everything. And we got them all these things. We put it in a way in a spreadsheet that they understood. We explained why they were wrong on some of the stuff. And then because they acted so quickly and we did that, these people are literally still in business. And yes, you have to pay that back, but the state put them on a really nice payment plan.
Yeah, the worst thing you can do when you receive a DBPR complaint is nothing. If you do nothing, the chances of getting the book thrown at you are pretty good. It's important that you hire people to help you out with those complaints and that you respond to them. And I think it's the same with any industry. I'm pretty sure that if you got a bar complaint and you didn't respond, if we didn't respond to it, we'd be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, it's been known to happen.
Not with us.
No, not with us. But we get a newsletter every month from the Florida Bar. As a Florida Bar member, you get the Florida Bar news. And then in the back of it, there's a whole section dedicated to disbarments and
disciplinary.
There's disciplinary, and you get to read through, and you get to read everybody's teeth and everything they did wrong.
Yeah, some are pretty inventive on how people can get in trouble.
Right. And you look at me and you go, so the first 2 times the bar reached out and said, "Don't do that," you just ignored it.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you deserve it. One other thing I want to talk about, because you mentioned it before, and I don't want to go too far afield before, and I think a lot of people listening to this have always heard, I got something done at my house and the guy didn't do it right, and now I have a lien. I have a construction lien. I have a bond. Can you explain how that works and how you can help somebody if they have a lien put against them?
Yeah, I don't think the law, and I don't know the law in other states, but we get so many people that come down from the Midwest. I'm from Ohio originally, but and I represent people from Ohio. I even represent people, don't hate me for it if there's any Ohioans listening to this, but I even represent people from Michigan. And
he's not discriminatory.
No, but I'll take all. Yeah, I think that the law in other states must be different. I've never actually researched it, but in Florida, even if you pay your contractor in full, if the contractor doesn't pay his subcontractor, they can file a lien against your property, and if you do nothing, they can take your property. And a lot of people are like, I paid my contractor in full. I received a notice to owner from a subcontractor and I ignored it. And then I received a lien from a subcontractor and ignored it because I paid my contractor in full. So they can't file a lien and take my property. No, in Florida, they actually can take your property. And it catches people off guard. A lot of people, they get it. They think I paid my contractor in full. They get a lien from a subcontractor, they throw it in a drawer somewhere, they get a lawsuit that's been filed against them, they don't really do anything. If you don't do anything for 20 days after you get a lawsuit filed against you, you get a default entered against you. And they contact lawyers like way too late in the game when there's not a lot we can do. In Florida, you have to be really careful. You always have to get those lien releases every single time you issue that payment. You need to get a lien release from your contractor. All of the subcontractors, especially all those subcontractors who filed notice to owners, which the notice to owner is the document that subcontractors are required to serve on you, the owner, within 45 days at the time they begin working on your project. Yeah, it's a little bit of, I think, a different law in the state of Florida. It catches people off guard all the time, but you got to get those lien releases.
Wow. The other thing that you hear people talk about before is, my contractor said it's going to be 30 days, and now it's 60, and I haven't seen him in a week, and I want to get out of my contract, and I want to break my contract because they're not doing what they told me to. What are some of the reasons for construction delays that you see, and what are some legal recourses for construction delays?
Yeah, there's a lot of different reasons why there can be delayed. And if it's an act of God, in Florida we have hurricanes. Unfortunately, tons of hurricanes.
Supply chain issues.
Yeah, supply chain issues. There's a lot of different reasons why a construction project can get delayed. Could just be a contractor's just focusing on other jobs. But the key is the contract has to say time is of the essence, and there need to be some milestones in your contract that are saying this is how long we have to complete the contract. Yeah, delay claims can be some of the most challenging claims, but it's like anything. You want to make sure that the contract that you enter into before your contractor even begins work is as detailed as possible. The other thing, we get a lot of the delay claims, and the key to delay claims really is to set expectations at the beginning of the project and to make sure you have a good contract. Mm-hmm. Same thing, the other thing that we get a lot of calls about are, I don't like the way something looks, aesthetic issues. And unfortunately, unless you really specify in your contract, this is exactly how I want things done, I want things of a certain quality, and you really put a lot of detail in your contract, aesthetic claims can be some of the toughest claims to actually handle.
I'm just thinking here, somebody's going to go out and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars nowadays, depending on where you're building, much more than that, building a house, or redoing their kitchen or putting in a pool. They've already committed to spend a significant amount of capital. I'm just thinking it may be worth it for them to give you a call, pay whatever it's going to be for you to go and look at that contract, because they're at that point, if they're trying to do it to save a couple $100 on a legal fee, that down the road they may spend $100,000 on a new kitchen that they don't like because the contract isn't right.
Yeah, I'm always happy to review contracts before they get started, because if they don't, then if you don't have somebody look at your contract and your contract isn't really detailed, that's where a lot of these issues come from. It's just so many issues can be resolved if both parties are on the same page before you begin work. If both parties know this is when the project is this is the timeline for the project, these are the qualities that we expect. A lot of times when you're dealing with those higher end kitchens, you're using granite, you're using natural materials, and the sample that you get is not going to match up with exactly what is delivered. Or if you have real wood in your home, real wood has a lot of different variables. So it's just setting expectations at the beginning for both parties, not just for the owners, who we represent a lot of owners, but also for the contractor as well. If you're on the same page, you both are playing from the same sheet of music, things are just better.
And I would think that I'm having somebody coming in and redo our kitchen, spending $100,000 or whatever, just high-end kitchen, and I hire you, and you're looking over and says, Bill, these are what needs to go in there. And my contractor is saying, no, I don't want it. I'm going to start getting nervous about, hold on, you're not going to tell me when it's done. You're not going to guarantee it's going to look like your renderings. Mm-hmm. You're not going to like material and quality. You're not going to guarantee any of that. Mm-hmm. But you still want me to sign it and trust you to redo probably the most important room in any household.
Yeah.
And I could be without it for 6 months or a year, and to you, you're like, I don't know. That would send me red flags if I hired you, and then they're giving pushback that this is too detailed. It steals my home. The biggest investment any of us will most likely have in our lives. Talking about them a little bit, what are some of the most common construction defect complaints that you get?
Biggest ones that we handle are building envelope. In Florida, it was just raining just when I was driving over here. It was like just getting humid. The storm clouds were forming. It was looking nasty out there. And in Florida, we live in a hot, humid environment. If you have issues with your roof, you have issues with your windows, you have issues with your stucco, it's just a matter of time before you have mold, you have all sorts of water intrusion issues, and you have water damage issues. Those are our biggest claims: roof claims, stucco claims, and window defect issues. But we represent also a lot of condominium associations, because in Florida, a lot of people live in condominiums, and the condominium association is maintaining the roofs, the windows, the stucco, the building envelope. And so we handle a lot of claims for condominium associations, and those are your big ticket items really in Florida, because if those items fail, you're going to have problems.
How about drainage with all the rain we get down here?
Yeah, unfortunately, I've been seeing a lot more drainage cases. I feel like a lot of the good properties, good land has been already purchased. And so we're starting to develop more and more of that like low-lying land. And the contractors, they need to bring in fill. And fill is expensive, like everything else. And now everything's expensive. They have to bring in fill. And if they don't bring in the fill and they don't properly build up your property, and they don't either design it properly so it has swales where the water can drain into swales, or if they don't properly slope it away from your home, it's supposed to have positive drainage away from your home, at least within 10 feet of the foundation, you can run into all sorts of issues when it comes to drainage.
And when somebody calls you up, what information do you need from them to assess if it's a construction defect case or not?
We typically need to know, number one, when did this happen? Because the Florida legislature just changed the law. There's a statute of repose that applies, and also a statute of limitations that applies. And the statute of repose has been now shortened to 7 years as of July 1st, 2024. We need to know the whole timeline for the property. When did the new construction occur? If it isn't new construction, when did they complete, the subcontractor or contractor complete the renovation or improvement? The timeline is going to be key. And then we also need to know, what kind of contract do you have? Do you have a contract? Does it include attorney's fees? Does it specify all the different specifications, plans, and everything else? And then we need to know the type of defect. Are you having drainage issues? Are you having roofing issues, stucco issues, window issues? What are the issues that you're experiencing?
And so what are some of the common defenses that a construction company will say, yeah, but?
Common defenses are number one, usually your contractor doesn't actually build your house. They hire subcontractors to build your house. The contractor, like me, is just the pretty one. There's the pretty one.
This is what I have to deal with.
They're the ones that are selling you the job. They're handling usually the permits. They're supposed to be the captain of the ship, but then they're hiring subcontractors to do all the work. And so a lot of times you get into an issue where the contractor may even think, yeah, the subcontractor made a mistake, but if the subcontractor doesn't agree, then they start pointing the finger at each other, and it just takes time to get everybody into a room and to try to get these things worked out. So really I think that's like the biggest impediment of settling cases.
So the biggest defense that you see is basically this: his fault.
Yeah, it's his fault. He didn't coordinate it directly. He didn't do that directly. Yeah.
So what are some of the remedies that you get for your clients beyond the fact that, okay, you didn't do the drainage right, and now we got to tear out the landscaping and put French drains in, and that's going to be $50,000. Besides the monetary remedies, what are some other remedies that they do?
Yeah, in Florida, we have to follow what's called like a Chapter 558 process, which is like a pre-suit process where everyone tries to work it out. So as the owners have to, and you almost always have to hire an engineer, general contractor, architect to look at your property and to give you a report saying exactly what's wrong. Then as the owner, you prepare what's called a Chapter 558 letter, or really your lawyer prepares a Chapter 558 letter, and they serve it on the subcontractors, and it's going to tell them, these are the defects that we're having, here's the location of the defect, here's the description of the defect, and then the contractor has 30 days for single family homes, 30 days to complete inspections. They should be putting the subcontractors on notice. They inspect your home, and then within 45 days, they're supposed to give you or the owner an offer. And it can offer to make repairs. They can offer to pay you money, or really the insurance companies can offer to pay you money, or they can offer some combination of those things, or they can offer you nothing. They can say, we disagree, we're just going to point the fingers at each other. But at least at the end of the 45 to 60 day really period, you're going to get an answer to, can we work this thing out pre-suit, or do we have to file a lawsuit?
So this brings up an interesting point. I know some people out there are probably thinking the same thing. So I'm suing my contractor because he basically has 2 left feet and can't swing a hammer properly. And one of the remedies he says is, oh, let me take another crack at it.
Yeah.
I'd be like, no. If they come in under this 558 and say, okay, we'll take care of it, do you have to allow them?
No. You don't have to accept any. You don't have to accept any offer. Yeah, you don't have to accept the offer. But a lot of times, also the contractor, they've got their A team of subcontractors and their B team of subcontractors, and maybe they had their B team on your property, but maybe the contractor says, I can get my A team out there. We can get this thing fixed, and it's still going to cost me less to fix this than it will be to turn it over to my insurance, see my insurance premiums increase, and all the bad things that happen when you've got claims against you.
I had a situation, got a new air conditioner put in. Not going to say the company because the guy's a good friend of mine, and that's why I used them.
You want to say what it rhymes with?
Yeah, no. And it was the worst install job of a air conditioner that I've ever seen in my life. My dad used to be in the refrigeration and air conditioning business. I've helped him put some stuff in on places that we've had. Called the guy up and I said, he sent some guy out and he looked at it and was like, wow. But he did the same thing that you said. He said, Billy, it's cheaper for me to tear this unit, the air handler, out, redo the ducting, put a new A handler in with my A squad.
Yeah.
Free maintenance for 6 years, free this. He goes, then to try to fix how they did it.
Yeah.
You literally need to do it again. Just so you guys know, if you're dealing with somebody that you trust or has a good reputation and they offer to do that, it's not necessarily a bad thing because it could remedy the problem. But again, that's something where you have somebody like Alan that comes in and says, I've looked at this guy's reputation and his business and his ratings and all that kind of stuff. You probably shouldn't do that.
Yeah, even good contractors make bad mistakes. It happens. So.
Right. You had said insurance a couple times. So these contractors or subs should have insurance that if they make a mistake, the insurance will come in and represent them, pay the claims. Do you see sometimes where there's a conflict between the contractor who's saying we did nothing wrong and the insurance company that says it's more expensive for me to hire somebody to represent you contractor than it is just to get out of this. And how do you negotiate that? Because you're dealing with contractors are normally people with egos, A personalities, very proud craftsmen. We're not saying that all contractors they're awesome, but they're a certain personality, a lot like the same people that go into law, you know? Do you see a lot of, how do you manage that so you do the best for your client while trying to manage the fight that you know is going on over there because you've been on that side of the table and you know the fight that's going on over there?
Yeah, we don't take any cases unless we have our engineering report and our independent engineers say, yes, this is a strong case. You've got a strong case. We don't have that happen a lot. But when I was on the other side of things, a lot of times I would have a subcontractor or contractor and they would say, yeah, we didn't do anything wrong here. And the insurance company, it may be less expensive for the insurance company to settle those claims than not. Most of those CGL policies, it's a commercial general liability policy, most of them have what's called a hammer clause in those policies. So unfortunately, if the contractor, and if we represent a contractor and they say, yeah, I really don't want them to settle this. Unfortunately, if their insurance company wants to settle it, you just have to let the insurance company settle the claim, because the risk is that if they don't allow the insurance company to settle the claim, then it's on them.
The insurance company goes, we're offering to do this. Do you want us to do it? No, you're voiding your coverage. You're on your own.
Yeah, it's like it's called a hammer clause, which no pun intended, but yeah, it could happen. Yeah.
That's awesome. So with this 558 letter and all that, typically, not holding you to it, what's the typical timeline? Somebody out there is watching this video and has some issues and want to give you a call, and in their mind, because I do disability litigation, so I know you call me up, I can give you a general idea. Don't hold me to it, but this is the maximum it's going to take. This is the maximum it's going to take. Like on a property case, you got to do the notice of lien. You got to do your proof of loss, wait, notice of lien, wait. So we know on these construction cases, what's the run of them usually?
I don't know if there's any law that is fast. I don't think that any claim is fast. The only thing I think that is relatively quickly is in the criminal justice system, you've got a right to a speedy trial.
Which everybody waives.
Yeah, which everybody waives. But yeah, I don't really know of any law that's fast. And I think the important thing is all clients, anybody that's getting involved in litigation, it needs to know that unfortunately it's going to drag out and it's going to take longer than anybody wants. But there are things that we can do to try to speed it along. Number one, we try to get our experts out there as quickly as possible. After you serve them with that notice of claim, though, you have to wait. You have to give them at least 30 days to inspect the property, 45 days to make an offer. It takes about 60 to 90 days roughly, because every once in a while, if you're making progress towards settlement, it's going to be quicker if you give them an extra 30 days to try to sell the case then than it is to go into litigation. Once you find
cheaper,
and a lot cheaper, yeah, which is always good for our clients, bad for us, but good for our clients.
But at the end of the day, I tell people all the time, it's that when I say, let's wait a little month, and they'll go, you just don't want to, I'm a litigator. It's like telling Mike Tyson he doesn't want to fight anybody. Yeah, he does. But
Jake Paul.
Yeah. So now at the end of the day, I tell people, listen, waiting 30 days can save you $500 in filing fee. It could save you probably getting your depot taken, which you have to pay for, and it saves you 10%. I make less money if you settle it in the next 30 days without me filing suit. I make less money, but if you don't wait and we settle that, you could possibly get less. So what you guys have to understand is when we tell you to do patience, because we're doing it because it's ethically the best thing for you. We can't consider our bottom line, no matter what all the jokes about attorneys are. So sometimes we say, let's give them 30 more days. It's because we know once we file suit, charges accrue, and per our contracts, usually an attorney's contract working on contingency, their rates go up, sometimes 10% when the lawsuit's filed. That's not chump change. So I like that you do that push, because then as a client, I would feel, okay, now I have to file suit. I have to do this, but you know what? Alan did everything he could to try to get this done before we got to this point. It's a measure of that you've crossed all the T's and dotted all the I's. The other thing about speed, what I tell my disability clients, I can't make the insurance company go faster because there are federal guidelines that say they get 45 days, they get 45 days, they get 90 days. I can't change, but I can make it go better.
athlete.
So this is a lightning round, folks. So hang on, we're gonna ask them some interesting questions. Besides watching the Buffalo Bills lose, what's your favorite activity or pastime?
Oh man, you got to start with that one. The Bills. Oh man, you know what? I'm gonna say this about the Bills. Yesterday, the day before yesterday, they just cut a ton of people. Today is March 8th, 2024. So they just cut half their team, and for the first time ever, I'm a little bit optimistic that the Bills are heading in the right direction. But yeah, pastime, I've given up on the Bills. I used to watch so much Buffalo Bills TV. Lost a lot of good TVs as a result of that, but that's a story for another day. But yeah, playing with my kids is my number one pastime, and that's my passion.
Favorite flavor of ice cream?
Rocky Road or Heavenly Hash?
Favorite movie?
Ooh, Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Oh. I know the answer to this one already. Best sitcom of all time.
Oh, best sitcom of all time? Ted Lasso, of course. If that's technically qualifies as a sitcom.
It is.
I feel like it qualifies. It should just be like Oscar nominated TV shows. But yeah, Ted Lasso it really should be in a class all its own. It shouldn't even be like a sitcom. It should just be like, I don't even know. It should just be in a class all its own. It's just Ted Lasso, and then there's everything else.
Coke or Pepsi?
Oh, it doesn't matter.
Really?
Yeah.
Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts?
Neither.
Really? Are people that get out of the water at the beach and sit directly on the sand, do they need help, or is that okay?
Oh man.
Because my wife will get right out and just sit right on the sand, and I'm just like, I want to throw up enough.
I feel like if you're under the age of 16 or something, there's an age where that's appropriate, Bill. But with my knees, and I lied to people and told them I'm like chiseled and stuff. Like the idea of sitting on the sand and then trying to get up with my knees, no, it's not gonna happen.
Ketchup on your eggs or not?
No way.
Thin or thick crust pizza? Do you like candy corn?
No way.
Okay. On a non-work day, are you an early bird or a night owl?
Oh man, a non-work day, I'd say early bird.
When you get chicken wings, are you a drummy or a flapper guy?
Oh, drum all the way. Yeah.
Corner brownie or middle brownie?
Middle, all day long. Is that even a question?
I like the corners.
Really?
Yeah. Your death row meal and dessert. Last thing you're gonna eat.
Arby's French dip with two orders of cheese sticks and 2 cups of the fake cheese sauce, and then I get a dessert too.
Yeah.
Oh man. That is a tough call. Andy's, I'm going to go with an Andy's frozen yogurt. I'm going to go with the lumberjack from Andy's. Yeah, that is solid. Hot fudge, caramel, some brownie bits in there, and some nice pecans or pecans, depending on what your preference is.
Desert Island album. So one album that's the only album you can listen to for the rest of your life.
Oh man, I can do better than that, Bill. I'll go one song.
What?
Just I Do Anything for Love on repeat. On repeat. Meatloaf all day long. Repeat. That sounds like the Ted Lasso of songs.
Oh, here we go. See, guys, this is why I do these questions. And if you watch these videos, there's some things that just have shocked me. That's one of them. That and Reggie being so infatuated with Pink was shocking to me.
Really?
Pink and Tom Selleck.
Pink and Tom Selleck.
Yeah.
I can understand the Tom Selleck.
Yeah. A person either currently alive or from history that you would love to sit down and have a beer with just to talk to and get to know.
Everybody says Abraham Lincoln because it's true. That guy would be awesome. But I feel like that's just like the cop-out answer that everybody gives. And then, of course, Jesus, everybody gives that. I'm going to go with my wife. My wife, I would just like to have a beer with my wife. Did I score some points? If she watches this.
If she watches this,
I just scored some points.
I just lost $10 to Warren, who said that you were going to say Jason Sudeikis. But then
I almost did, but then I thought I can score points here with my wife, and that is worth way more than that. Yeah.
An artist or group that's no longer touring that you wish you would have seen when they were out on tour.
Meatloaf, yeah, for sure. But is AC/DC still touring? I don't think they are.
I don't think they are.
Yeah.
So either Meatloaf or AC/DC.
Yeah, I'd go with either or.
See, he doesn't give the heavy metal rocker vibe.
Come on, everybody loves AC/DC. Yeah.
That's just the complexity.
AC/DC was played at my wedding. Yeah, that was my walkout song.
First celebrity crush.
Mila Kunis, probably.
Wow. He is younger. Favorite city in the world to live in besides, of course, Safety Harbor.
Oh, man. I would say if I could go anywhere, it'd be Venice. I'd go back to Venice. That place is amazing. So.
Last question. Would you rather be able to speak every language or talk to animals? And speaking to animals is not a language.
I can already speak and communicate with my dog, and I can tell you right now, it's not that interesting. I'll go speak every language just because I can already do the other Bill. And yeah, my dog, the conversations that we have are they're not that deep, actually. It turns out all she wants is food and to sniff things that she shouldn't be sniffing.
So this is what I'm going to do. We usually end here, but because of his deep love for Ted Lasso, I am going to give him 5 minutes to explain to you why Ted Lasso is the Wizard of Oz.
It starts from the first episode. I don't even need 10 minutes. I
gave you 5, actually.
5. Oh man, I'm on the clock. I feel like I'm doing my final argument here. But no, I can honestly say that it starts with the first episode and ends with the last episode. The last episode is the reverse of the first episode, and then he ends, of course, at his house. Well, the last scene is just superfluous, where he's actually at the last scene. He's at the soccer field, the soccer stadium, and he does the
spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert.
So our editor that does this, when we start talking about Ted Lasso, you need to flash on there. Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the show, don't watch.
Actually, I was going to say the same thing, Bill, but then I'm like, no. If you're watching this and you have not seen Ted Lasso, shame on you. That is your fault. All the spoilers that are about to happen, it's your fault. Everybody should have seen, unless you're living under a rock, you should have seen Ted Lasso by now. But yes, it is the greatest show ever invented, ever created. It is a just perfection from start to finish.
He always has red shoes on.
Yes. He's got the red Nikes.
Red Nikes. Somewhere Over the Rainbow is played at least 3 or 4 times in different scenarios. There is the way that certain characters that are the evil characters, the bad actors, how they physically appear and walk towards the end of the show is more shuffling like the Wicked Witch.
He even plays like, they start hitting you over the head a little bit harder on it. But although when you look at it, they hit you over the head pretty hard with it. Like the first episode when he lands in London, which is like the same thing with Dorothy and she goes up in the tornado. But they go on a plane, they land in London. He says after the limo driver picks him up at the first episode, he says to the limo driver, "Oh, we want to go do some sightseeing." And then he says to Coach Beard, "I don't think we're in Kansas anymore," which is a classic reference to. And then it's just so tightly done. It's just, I'm so glad that they didn't do what. On the one hand, I was so disappointed when it ended, but I'm so glad that they didn't do what a lot of other shows have done, where they just keep on going with it, because it was just so tight from start to finish. Yeah. And it was just like perfect.
Favorite character besides Ted?
Of course, Johnny Rojas, man.
Yeah. Danny Rojas.
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah.
Wow.
Wow. Danny Rojas. Johnny Rojas. Oh man. We'll edit that out. We're gonna edit that out. Favorite character? Danny Rojas.
Yeah.
No.
Roy Kent.
Roy Kent?
Love him. He reminds me so much of how I was with my little nieces when they were little, that thing. And I still say that if you do watch it, when you watch it at the second time, like I have, and he's watched it like 600 times, but I've watched it several times too, it becomes, you can see how it's a story for different characters. Like there's a character called Jamie Tart, and if you actually watch it and you just concentrate on him, the whole story can be his story. And then if you go back and you watch it, then you watch it with Roy, in your mind as being the focal point. It's so well written that it's literally, it can be somebody else's story.
I think, is it called a Jeremiad? Is that what they call it? Where every single character has like some
arch.
Yeah, some arch. And I think all of the characters, with the exception of maybe Rupert, I don't know if Rupert really ever progresses, but I think all of the characters have like progression and they all develop as human beings. And it's so enjoyable watching the development of characters who progress, they learn, they grow every single year.
Favorite episode?
You know what? My favorite episode is either Tulips. Nah, it's gonna be Tulips is my favorite episode.
My favorite episode is season 2 Christmas.
Okay.
That Christmas episode. It's probably one of the best Christmas episodes of any sitcom, of any show I've ever seen. The meaning and the fact that it's family, and Sam's comment of, oh, what does Christmas remind you of? Colonialism. But he's still, it's celebrating with his family. And so it's more the deeper meaning of the holiday is not what society has put on it, whether it's Christianity or the commercialism. It was just, if that was in the US, if that show was in the US, it's in Britain. If they did that show and took Christmas out of it and made it a Thanksgiving episode, it would have had the same meaning. Friends, family, giving thanks, being appreciative for everything that you have. I really enjoyed it.
Man, I'll have to think. I haven't thought about it from that angle. That's really good. I just love that. I love that episode because it really is about family, but it's about the extension of family. And
family, there's a family that, and I think it was very clear that, and this is really an allegory for what we do. And my wife and I have this big thing up in our house where it's pictures of us and all our friends. And I love my family and she loves hers, but it says friends are special because they're the family you choose.
Yeah.
And that's what that episode was, is they all had really nobody, and they're choosing to be the family, and they're choosing to love each other and have warmth and compassion. And that is what I think I was drawn to.
Isn't that the greatest thing about being in a team growing up? Your son plays football, and it's just when you're in that team setting and your team becomes a family away from family. And it's just, I don't know, like that's a great thing about, I think that's one of the reasons why we love sports.
Right.
Is because we love the fact that it's not just if you win or lose. I hate to say that because winning and losing is important, obviously. But it's not just if you win or lose. It's like the family. When you're actually in the sport, it's the family and it's the
helping out.
Sports are amazing.
This is going to end this video. Thanks for Alan. Alan, what our guests do is I always have them reintroduce themselves, give them the phone numbers and how they can get in touch with you if they have any construction law questions.
But yeah, my name is Alan Gustafson. I'm a construction law attorney at Herman Wells. And my email is Alan, ALAN, at Herman Wells, HermanWells.com.
And the phone number for the firm?
I have no idea what the phone number is.
727-821-3195 or hermanwells.com. And it's Alan with one L. And we'll see you guys again. Hopefully we'll get a check-in with Warren after his trial. But thank you very much and be well.